If you want your pronunciation to resemble that of a native speaker and you want to remain camouflaged a bit longer, this is a video you must watch because we'll go over 15 words in Spanish that are often and frequently mispronounced by English native speakers. You might be pronouncing all or some of them wrong, or maybe not. The only way to find out is by getting started. You might be surprised, but some of those mistakes are made when using the easiest and most common words, such as, do you know how to pronounce this word? If someone asks you, which language are you learning? They might question whether you're actually learning Spanish if you're not able to pronounce the name of the language correctly in the first place. Say, estoy estudiando español, rather than español. I know, even Will Smith mispronounces the name of the language. Look.
Toda la gente habla español.
Todos.
So remember, it's español rather than español. If you're thinking that the pronunciation of this word is gracias, I'm sorry, but no, that's not how to say gracias. This is a word you'll use very often, so make sure you pronounce it correctly when responding to the question, ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Say, estoy bien. Gracias. Next word. Remember that in Spanish, you should never elongate letter O, especially when it appears at the end of words. So if you're thinking that this word is pronounced mucho, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wrong. The correct pronunciation would be mucho, as in, ha estado lloviendo mucho hoy. It has rained a lot today. Our next word is, letter H is silent in Spanish. I know it might be tempting to pronounce it as it is in English, but don't. Say hotel instead of hotel. For example, escogí este hotel por su ubicación. I chose the hotel because of its location. Never say hotel. No. Most English speakers tend to pronounce it wrong at first. I know the word in English and the word in Spanish look very similar, but they are pronounced differently. So instead of acento, say acento. Este video es para que trabajes tu acento en español. This video will prove useful for you to work on your Spanish accent. And the last of the most common and easiest words that are often mispronounced is, if you're thinking that the pronunciation is adios, I'm sorry, but no. You should say adios. So instead of adios, adios. So the D is sort of harder. I'm not gonna say adios just yet because we'll still have more words to go over. These words tend to be mispronounced because language learners tend to rely on their mother tongue to be able to pronounce words in another language. This is called interference by linguists. Other words that might be uttered under the influence of a person's mother tongue include, English speakers learning Spanish usually say habitantes or habitantes or habitants because it's very similar to inhabitants in a way. But the correct pronunciation is habitantes. For example, México tiene 126 millones de habitantes. Mexico has 126 million inhabitants. Another word is, if you're thinking of the pronunciation is vehículo, then I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wrong. The correct pronunciation is vehículo. For example, yo no tengo vehículo, prefiero la bicicleta. I don't have a car, I prefer riding a bike. Another word is, this word has nothing to do with deportation. It's actually the translation of sport. So you'll often hear it in sentences like this. La natación es mi deporte favorito. Swimming is my favorite sport. So, if you were thinking that this word is pronounced deporte because you thought it was somehow related to deportation, well, that's not what it means, and it's pronounced deporte. Yet another word is this one. I know, once again, it might be tempting to pronounce it as it is in English because it's essentially the same word, but instead of saying idea in Spanish, we say idea. For example, tengo una idea. I have an idea. Now let's go over verbs that are often mispronounced, such as, no, this is not pronounced either exigir or exigir. This verb, which means to demand, is pronounced exigir. For example, vino a exigir su pago. They came to demand payment. Another verb is, no, this is not pronounced ejercer or ejercer. It's pronounced ejercer, and it means to exercise. For example, exijo poder ejercer mis derechos. I demand being able to exercise my rights. Another verb is, no, this verb is not pronounced balbucear, it's pronounced balbucear, and it means to stutter, which is what I do whenever I'm recording videos for Spring Spanish. Suena interesante? Sounds interesting? For example, estaba tan nerviosa que empezó a balbucear. She was so nervous that she began to stutter. Another verb is, if you're either thinking or you've been pronouncing this verb as jalar, that's wrong because the H is silent in Spanish, and if you pronounce it in this word, you'll be changing the meaning entirely. The reason is that the verb jalar actually exists in Spanish, but it means to pull. This verb instead, hallar, means to find. For example, me tardé en hallar el camino de vuelta. It took me a while to find the way back. And the last verb is, I've seen English speakers shocked when they come across this word because they think it's a word they're not supposed to pronounce in English. So no, this is not the Spanish version of the N-word in English. This verb means to deny, and you'll find it very useful to highlight an undeniable truth. No puedo negar que me encantan los tacos. I can't deny that I love tacos. Muy bien. Now you know the day-to-day words you should pay attention to in terms of pronunciation.